And now a moment from Your History and Health comes first with Dr. Richard Brown.
Hello, thanks for joining me on this week's podcast. It is July 13th, 2022, and summer is well on its way. Matter of fact, there's heat waves all across the country. Also, the number of COVID-19 cases have reduced since 2 years ago, but it is still out there. It is waiting to kill you. Also, there's a new subvariant of Omicron, now called AB5, which scientists report that we should still be worried about. It's more contagious than Omicron, which is a variant of Delta. And so I just want to say that up front. Please be careful and safe because it's still out there. Now, we do have a drug that they're treating it with, which they didn't have 2 years ago, called Paxlovid. And people can take that rather than being hospitalized, and it provides a level of comfort and cure, so to speak. But we didn't have that 2 years ago, so we have that, but the virus is still out there. So I'm announcing that you should continue to participate in safe behavior in order to stay healthy. So the question for the day that I'm going to address is, does regular exercise keep you healthy? We talk about exercise, you hear about exercise. It is promoted in a lot of places. And since now COVID has subsided a bit, it's time to get back outside and participate in physical activity. So I'm sure you may have a set of Nikes or a pricey set of gym equipment that you use for exercise. And you may think that's a clear ticket to improving your physical health. Now that you've been cooped up for 2 years or more, time to get out, you want to get some exercise. Well, what I want to say is that it should not cost you any money. Now, this expensive equipment you have is good for you to have, but nothing should be more expensive than keeping healthy and staying alive. So if you spend some money, that's fine. If it makes you feel good or if it helps you with getting into physical activity and exercise, then great. But it doesn't have to cost you anything to stay alive. The key is movement. The key is keeping the body moving. Okay? That's a no-brainer. Logically, more movement is good for you. But the problem is figuring out what physical activity is more beneficial than the next, and how much should you do? Now, I have taught and professed for many years since my days at teaching at Florida A&M University that the human being is like a mechanical machine. The more the machine operates, the better it performs. When you think about a machine, it has certain moving parts. It needs a little oil. It needs some electricity. And then it performs for many, many, many years. Well, the human body is your machine that you want to perform for many, many, many years into your 90s. And there's people living to be over 100 nowadays because of lifestyle and technology and, of course, exercise and the proper food that they eat. So the more a machine operates, the better it performs, okay? The more you move, the better you can contain and maintain good health. For example, let's take a machine that you're very familiar with. So if you were to buy a brand new $50,000 automobile and park it and not do anything with it, you don't drive it for 3 to 5 years or more. Well, when you decide to drive it or cut it on, it will probably not operate. Okay? It will have lost its monetary value. The battery may be dead, the engine may not start, the gas will be old and may have gone bad. The metal parts may have rusted, the windshield wipers may have deteriorated, the tires may be flat. That new car will have lost its new car smell. It will be gone. So it is true with people. You got to keep moving. So if you stop moving, your health will decline. If you keep eating to stay alive, then you will become fat and overweight and develop diabetes, perhaps. Your muscles will get weak. You will not be able to walk after 2 weeks. The heart will not pump proper blood and oxygen to your brain and other cells. Your lungs will deteriorate, and it will be difficult to breathe. For example, people who become patients in a hospital and go into a coma or have a coma before they go in. Anyway, they're in a coma. They don't move maybe for 2-3 weeks at a time, sometimes months. Well, when they do finally come to and come out of the coma, it takes a lot of therapy in order for them to gain their health back. They may have to undergo physical therapy, occupational therapy, and sometimes speech therapy to fully recover. An example of how movement keeps you healthy in a rigorous, that is a rigorous practice, is the practices and the schedules that professional athletes use. As you know, they practice all the time. They operate at their fullest capacity so that they can perform at best that they can when it's time to perform in their sport. They maintain a regular exercise program. They stretch themselves to the limit, because the more that you move your muscles and move your body, the better it operates, the better it is to keep you healthy and keep you alive. So according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the average adult should observe a minimum of 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise each week for about 75 minutes. Okay, that is the standard established by CDC. And this could be like brisk walking, which doesn't cost you anything, jogging, running, activities associated with exercise, and all of the things that are associated with exercise you can do without having an exercise piece of equipment. But there are not only the ways to achieve fitness, there are other alternative forms that impact the cardiovascular system that you may not be familiar with, that you can still get 150 minutes a week. So Professor Melissa Bach, who is an associate kinesiology professor at Pennsylvania State University, this is what she says. We need to establish that while physical activity and exercise overlap, they aren't necessarily the same. Physical activity would be any kind of bodily movement that increases your energy expenditure beyond the resting level. So if you're resting, sitting on the couch or sitting anywhere, then you're at rest. But any movement that you do can consider to be exercise because you're exerting energy. So it can happen in 4 domains. The first domain is occupational, which is related to work activities like walking, lifting, carrying things. Domestic domain has to do with like housework, yard work, and childcare. I mean, vacuuming or doing gardening or just doing household chores that you normally may not want to do, don't feel like doing. Matter of fact, I can remember way back, many years ago when I was a child, I used to hear people all the time when myself and parents would go to their house, they say, oh, excuse our house, I haven't cleaned up. You have to just excuse what you see. Well, if they really understood and wanted to stay healthy and alive, they would have spent the energy and time to clean up that house, because it not only would be a clean house and you wouldn't have to be apologizing when visitors come, but you will have exerted some energy and gotten some exercise and maybe be a healthier person. The other domain is transportation, like bicycling or climbing stairs, or doing things in your leisure time. So anything that's structured and that provides repetitive exercise that you do on a volunteer basis, like maybe even some hobbies, is good for you. Now, research has consistently shown that exercise is beneficial to health and increases longevity. You can find that anytime you go on Google and look up exercise, the benefits or the value of physical activity, it's there, it's everywhere. Research also documents that physical activity, any bodily movement, whether it is structured or not, or done for a purpose, is also beneficial. So another professor by the name of Stephen Ball, a physical therapist at the University of Missouri and state fitness specialist, says people that are physically active have better health and live longer than sedentary people. The body doesn't know if you're performing exercise or if you are mowing the grass. It just knows that the energy requirement has increased. So while aerobic activity is considered the gold standard for maximizing heart health, lowering your risk for chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and improving your mental health, you could take multiple approaches. So hiking, swimming, dancing, skating, jumping rope, or even following a work video, or doing housework, gardening, like I've mentioned already, or even playing video games that are active, can all help increase your daily physical activity and get your heart pumping. Another thing, and I've mentioned this before, most people try to park as close as they can to Walmart or any other place that they're going to visit. When if you park away from the door a considerable distance, you would get some walking in, some steps in, and you may not park next to somebody who's going to come out and open their door and ding your automobile. You may have noticed some people who have those expensive automobiles park way at the end of the parking lot on shopping malls. That's because they're trying to protect their car and keep it from getting dented and scratched. Well, they're also protecting their health because they have to walk a little further to get to the door, and they walk a little further to get back to their car than they would if they had parked as close to the door as they possibly could. So there are some caveats though. Age is a factor. Age can impact the sort of physical activity that one should participate in. Because as we get older, we lose muscle strength, we lose some sense of balance, and we lose some flexibility with age. So Professor Ball says older adults and seniors should focus more on physical activities that promote building and maintaining muscle and flexibility instead of focusing on those activities that increase their cardiovascular endurance. Some examples of this is like Tai Chi or swimming. Well, I think about the fact that I have two sons, and when they were younger, it was their job to mow the grass while I supervised. Of course, after they grew up and moved away, it became my job to mow the grass. And I decided to continue to do it with a push mower because I figured that, well, I'll get my exercise, I'll get the sweat, I'll be improving my health. While many, many other neighbors had the riding lawnmower. My rationale was that, well, I'm gonna live longer than them because they're sitting riding the lawnmower and not pushing it like me. Well, since getting older and after many years of cutting my own lawn with a push mower, I finally purchased a riding lawnmower this year. And I was glad I did because I needed to do that in order to stay alive. I still get my exercise, but pushing that lawnmower in the hot sun and exerting that cardiovascular energy that needs to do that, it's a little more stressful for me than it was when I was younger. So you must adjust your physical activity to fit your capability. It is well known, as I mentioned before, that 150 minutes of moderate physical activity a week should keep you healthy. But does it apply to everyone? For years, science have sought to quantify the ideal physical activity that people needed. So back in 2008, they talked about needing 150 minutes. And that was the sweet spot. That was the area in which if everybody did that, then you would be okay. And they also say that it could be broken up into 30-minute intervals during a week, over 5 days a week, and that would be beneficial. So this consensus was based upon, numerous large-scale epidemiological studies, and that they found that this amount of moderate intensity activity correlated with a lower risk of premature death and debilitating diseases like stroke, heart attack, type 2 diabetes, and some forms of cancer. The CDC recommends that you aim instead these days for 60 minutes a week. 60 minutes of light or moderate intensity physical activity done in short bursts throughout the week. And studies have shown that the biggest health gains will occur with those sedentary people if they would do it like this, these short spurts of about 60 minutes a week, perhaps 5 days a week. And then they can gradually ramp up their participation and duration over time. Now, Professor Bopp, again, says that there's need to be more of a focus on getting people physically active than worrying about whether they are doing a structured, purposeful exercise. So over the last couple of decades, Americans have become increasingly inactive, with only 53% of adults 18 and older meeting the CDC recommendations for aerobic physical activity. Now, this was reported in 2021. It is very important to figure out what it is that you like to do, what type of activity you enjoy doing, and then just do it. Raymond Jones, an exercise physiologist at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, says that this is the key. Find what you love doing that moves your body, that exerts energy, and that it's fun and that you like it, and do it as often as possible. Now, that can take place in a variety of areas and a variety of types of activity. But if your thinking is that you love it, you like doing it, then you should do it as much as possible. And it's been proven that exercising and participating in physical activity with a partner or in a group, it's even more fun, and you perhaps can get even more done. So just telling a person that you need 150 minutes of brisk jogging and running and walking may not, do it for you. And for me personally, I've found that plain old exercise is boring for me. I don't necessarily like to do exercise just to be doing exercise. During the winter months, I do a few sit-ups and I lift some hand weights during the winter. But I've always preferred participating in an activity where exercise was a byproduct. I used to play a lot of basketball when I was younger. And at one time, I could beat just about anyone who showed up at the tennis courts at Fairground Park in St. Louis, Missouri. Of course, Arthur Ashe, who attended my high school during his senior year, would have been an exception, although we were playing tennis at different times. I didn't get good at tennis until I was out of grad school, and that was only for one summer. I now play golf 2 times a week, whether I feel like it or not. That is my form of exercise that I do regularly during the summer. Some people might say golf is not all that much of an exercise. especially if you're riding a cart. But I would beg to differ with you because even though you're riding a cart, you do have to walk from one point to another point, and you have to do a lot of stooping and stepping and moving the body in order to play the game. And so I encourage you to play golf if you can. Matter of fact, golf is the one sport that you can play from 80 years of age or maybe even 90 years of age. And you can start at age 8. So from 8 to 80, you can play that sport and participate in physical activity. So I play in a lot of golf tournaments too when I get a chance, and mostly scrambles, which means that everybody participates and the overall score is a result of the collective participation of the 4 players that, on a particular team. So first player hits the ball wherever it lands, then you look at it and all 4 players hits the ball, and wherever the best ball is, that's the one that everybody goes to and take the next shot. And they do that all the way in until they put the ball in the hole at the green. So the key is consistency. Both Jones and Boppe says that whichever is easier to achieve, you should actually do it. Whether it's walking, running, playing a sport, whatever is easy for you and that you like doing, that's the best thing to do. And if you make being active a regular habit, and then you can reach your goals and build your endurance and your muscles and improve your flexibility and lose weight and achieve the lifestyle that you want in terms of being healthy, more so if you do these things. So a better quality of life is all about incremental steps and doing what you love. So the question that I asked in the beginning, does regular exercise really keep you healthy? And the answer is an overwhelming yes. Participating in regular physical activity will keep you healthy. If you do not move, you will get weak and you will not be able to function at your maximum potential. Also, studies prove that people who participate in regular physical activity do better in school. So young people who don't participate in physical activity might think about that. They're not doing it well in school as they would like to do. Maybe some regular physical activity may help to clear up the brain and make body function better, and you could get a higher score on that test. So that's something to think about. And of course, people that are in elderly homes, senior citizen homes, nursing homes, those who have the ability to move any parts of their body are encouraged to do so. As a matter of fact, they have programs where they make sure that the occupants participate, even if it's just moving their hands or their arms or moving around in their chair in order to keep them active and healthy. So remember, your history and health comes first. This is Dr. Brown, and I'll see you around. Thank you.
This has been Your History and Health Comes First with Dr. Richard Brown. And you can leave suggestions at ewcfacts@gmail.com. That's ewcfacts@gmail.com. This has been an EWC Communication production.